Disney cannot keep you 100% safe from cruise line scams, but we can help. Today, we're going to focus on the biggest cruise line scams and how you can keep your family and money safe and sound during your adventure. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. So a Disney cruise is so much fun, like for real. Sometimes I prefer cruising over a theme park vacation, especially when I'm in the mood for more relaxing and fewer queue lines. However, much like the theme parks, there are scams that you need to be aware of before and during your Disney cruise getaway. Brief roadmap of what we're going to be covering today. First, we're going to talk about legit cruise line scams that you need to steer clear of or be on high alert for. And then we're going to talk about some Disney cruise line offerings that feel kind of scammy but are legally above board. You just need to be aware that they exist and read that fine print so they don't take you by surprise. All right, let's start with our real life scams that you gotta watch out for. Even when you're cruising or planning on cruising with Disney, some seriously not so magical things can happen while you're not on the ship. Starting with the social media contests. This has been a cruise scam problem for many years now, and the problem has only gotten worse over time. When you're on social media, you might come across a seemingly innocent post telling you to like, share, and tag X number of friends in the comments so you can be eligible to win a free cruise. At first, they may seem like a dream come true, but if you win this so-called contest, the dream quickly fizzles into more of a nightmare. Travel experts have written many articles detailing how tricky these free cruise scams can be. One minute you're given a congratulations email, and the next you're still being asked to provide a port and various other services fee to secure your reservation. Then, after you pay those unexpected fees, you might also be coerced into booking other upgrades, like excursions at slashed prices or better cabins at discounted rates or drink packages. So in the end, the so-called free contest might end up costing you just as much, if not more, than what you'd wind up paying for a cruise out of pocket. And if the scam you've stumbled upon is really scammy, then after you've paid all those fees and dues, the social media account hosting the contest may disappear entirely, leaving you cruiseless and out hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Or that free cruise you've been promised might actually be a carefully crafted timeshare scheme requiring you to arrive at a set location and listen to a 5+ hour high-pressure sales pitch for a timeshare you have no intention of buying. This is probably the lesser of evils here because you may still wind up with a cruise in the end, but even so, this really isn't something you want to gamble with, especially if you were originally promised a free cruise with seemingly no strings attached. When it comes to free cruise contests, be wary. Usually you can tell an account is less than legit just by doing a little extra research. If you click on the profile for the free cruise post and you see that the account doesn't have many followers, or that their page is mainly made up of free cruise posts, or that there's frequent spelling errors or AI sounding generated text on the page, then run for the hills and far away from here, because it's more than likely going to be a trap that you don't need to be testing the waters of. If the contest profile you're reviewing looks awfully similar to Disney's own profile, because some of those scammers can make those contest profiles look a little too convincing, then check and see if the page has a blue verified checkmark next to the username. That checkmark could show you that the page you're currently on is the real deal and not some poser looking to scam you out of your hard-earned money. It's also important to go directly to the Disney Cruise Line website itself, and not just their social page, to see if you can find any mention of a big contest being highlighted on their homepage. Disney does sometimes have free cruise sweepstakes, but it's rare. Next, be wary of those unreliable excursions. So the Disney Cruise Line travels to all sorts of overseas destinations: the Bahamas, the Caribbean, Europe, Mediterranean, the list goes on. For many of us, these are once-in-a-lifetime bucket list destinations, so it makes sense you'd want to book an excursion to go on a guided tour around your port of call and see some of those popular or even hidden gem locations around the city. Because when on earth are you going to get the chance to do this again, right? But be careful when you book third-party excursions that are outside the Disney Cruise Line's realm of influence. Disney only owns 2 of the port of call locations you'll potentially travel to during your cruise, and that's Disney's Castaway Cay and Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point, opening this summer. Otherwise, the other ports that you'll be stopping at during your trip are not under Disney's jurisdiction, which is going to be important to keep in mind for many of the other points we're going to be talking about during this video as well. That means when you book a non-Disney owned excursion at one of these overseas locations, you're going to need to make sure you do your research thoroughly, because not every excursion or excursion company out there is going to promise you a good, reliable experience. Don't get me wrong, some third-party excursions are great and can legit save you a lot of money on touring touring the area rather than going through Disney directly, but some of them may not give you the awesome experience you were promised. For example, if the excursion takes you on a tour through a product factory, you might find that the experience is way more focused on selling the factory's product and merchandise rather than providing you with legit sightseeing. And then there are the tours that promise to take you into historical sites that the tour guides actually have no jurisdiction to be in. So you might end up seeing these sites from a distance, but you miss that bucket list experience of actually going inside the cathedral or mausoleum or a whole other site entirely that you were looking forward to. Some tours feel like they've shortchanged you, charging too much for a tour that you honestly could have done yourself just by walking around the streets of the city, wandering aimlessly. While other tours feel like they've oversold their experience, crowding way too many people in a single tour and making it feel like you're waiting in long lines just to go out parasailing or water skiing or scuba diving or whatever adventure you wanted to book, but didn't fully get the chance to experience. Some excursions also run the risk of running behind. When you book an excursion with Disney and something happens that delays your arrival back to the ship, your cruise will wait for you to return before sailing out. But if your third-party excursion runs behind and you don't get back to the ship before that final all-aboard call is sounded, the ship is liable to sail away without you on board, meaning you're going to have to find a flight to get back home from wherever you are. Not great. Again, I'm not telling you to skip all third-party excursions. It's a well-known tip to book third-party excursions or even the same excursions Disney offers to their guests, except without the middleman, to save some serious dough. Just don't leap before you book. Read reviews, call the company, get details, and understand what the cancellation policies are if you decide not to do the excursion at the last minute, because those can really cost you too if you're not careful. If you book a tour and then suddenly decide not to do it, some excursions won't do refunds, meaning you forfeit all that tour cost without getting to actually do the thing. Fortunately, if you want to do an excursion but you're nervous about booking a tour with a company that's not directly contracted by Disney, then of course you can do a Disney Cruise Line port adventure, which you can book via the Disney Cruise website. These are typically more costly than what you'll get through a third-party tour, but you will be paying for that peace of mind and once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That being said, even Disney's port adventures have cancellation policies you'll need to be aware of. Cancellations can be made up to 3 days before the cruise departure date, and after that, reservations are final and non-refundable. And on an even more serious note, before you book an overseas excursion, please read up on the updated travel advisories via the U.S. Department of State website. Certain international locations may not be safe for tourism at the time you want to travel, so if you're visiting or thinking about visiting a certain country, check to see what their advisory status is. There are 4 levels of travel advisory. Level 1 is the lowest, where you'll just need to exercise normal precautions. Level 2 is next, where you'll need to exercise increased caution, so booking a third-party excursion may not be the best idea there. Level 3 is where you're going to want to reconsider traveling to that location altogether. And level 4 is the highest level, giving you that big red do not travel notice. So just stay informed before you book a cruise or excursion anywhere to keep your family safe. Even if you decide to skip out on the port excursions, you still need to be on high alert when you enter an overseas port of call, because these cruise ship cities can take advantage of your vacation vulnerabilities. This is especially true in cities where bartering is a big thing. Yep, these locations can be beautiful with lots of white sandy beaches and tropical flair, but if you're trying to browse the cultural markets, many of the shopkeepers might try to pressure you into making a sale you're not comfortable making. Or even if you're not near one of their shops, they might use rather ingenious tactics to coerce you over to one of their stores, catching you completely off guard. This happened to me in Cancun, and they almost got me, even though I consider myself a pretty savvy traveler. Nobody is immune. Travel experts are also warning tourists to be careful if a shopkeeper or even a local resident on the street tries to hand you something, like a friendship bracelet or a flower, or something else entirely. At first, these items may seem like they're being given to you as a gift, but as soon as you take them, the person handing them to you will ask for money. If you want that friendship bracelet or flower, then go for it, but these spur-of-the-moment street items usually cost way more than they're worth, just so you're aware. Also, be aware of purchasing high-end products overseas at a super discounted price. You may think you're getting a legit Louis Vuitton clutch or Gucci handbag, but really it might be a knockoff that very closely resembles the actual brand instead of being the real deal. Again, that still may be worth it for you if you just think that bag's cute enough to buy. Just know that what you're paying for may not be the legit brand promised if the discount seems to be too good to be true. When you're purchasing items overseas and you're using a currency other than American dollars, make sure you understand the currency conversions. I can remember my first week in Japan when I ended up paying about $80 $10 for a plastic toy train for my son, thinking it was $8. That has nothing to do with a cruise, but I always like to tell you my embarrassing stories because we're friends, right? And it might help you. Anyway, back to cruising. Some shops may try to take advantage of tourists by pricing items much higher than normal, or they might even come up short when giving you your change after you purchase an item. In general, just be very smart with what you're purchasing and who you're purchasing from. It's easy to get caught up in the YOLO, I'm on vacation mindset, but the Disney cruises, again, don't control the shops in those ports. They only control their own gift shops at the private islands that they bring you to. Now, if you're not comfortable with those barter-like systems or pressuring sales tactics, then put on your blinders as you're walking through port. Or you may feel better staying on the ship during your port of call day to do some other Disney activities. Or you can just stick with the beaches or hiking trails of the port that'll keep you away from the shopping scene, but still immersed in the culture. And if you do still want to explore the shops, awesome. Shopping is a huge part of the overall city experience after all. Just don't be afraid to say no to sales pitches that you're not comfortable with agreeing to. And take off your rose-colored glasses so you can be smart about where you're spending your money, as well as what you're spending it on. I'd also recommend only taking a set amount of cash with you during your port day and leaving the rest back in your stateroom. That way, you don't risk spending or losing it all during your port of call stop. Also, keep your money as well as your passport, stateroom key, card, phone, secure in fanny packs or money belts or anti-theft purses with security features like lockable zippers and hidden compartments. Again, just to be on the safe side of things. And final note on this, sometimes on the Disney cruises, they will actually have like this person who's like a shopping guru, like they give some of those talks in the Walt Disney Theater kind of about the shops in port, and they help you figure out which ones are legit and which ones maybe aren't. So that's kind of helpful too. If you do want to do some shopping in port, go ahead and keep an eye on those talks that are happening in the theaters, and you can also sometimes watch them on your TV in your room. Okay, you've made it to your overseas port, but now how are you supposed to get around? Well, on Disney's private islands, it's easy to get from place to place thanks to their free tram services and bike rentals. But when you're wandering around somewhere like Nassau or Jamaica or Barbados, it's easy to get caught like a deer in headlights. How on earth do you make it from your ship and over to those sightseeing locations you've dreamed about visiting? Because believe it or not, it is totally fine for you as a cruise guest to jump in a bus or a taxi or whatever you want to get over to a sightseeing location. Overseas ports will have taxi cab services and their own rideshare apps that you might want to look into downloading to use during your trip. But I know you're going to get tired of me saying this, but I'm going to say it anyways. Do your research and make sure the service you find is one you're comfortable with using. Some taxi services have been known to pick up passengers on the fly and then charge them extra upon drop-off, which honestly is an issue you need to be aware of over in the States too. Always determine the amount you're going to pay for a ride with your driver before you get into the vehicle. And then, of course, there's always the matter of safety you'll need to keep in the forefront of your mind. While many overseas ride shares will be a positively pleasant experience and get you from point A to point B easy peasy, never ever settle on booking a rideshare or taxi ride that you don't feel 100% comfortable with. My best advice for you is to contact Disney Cruise Line directly and ask what they recommend you look into for a rideshare or taxi. Disney's help desk should be able to give you a few reliable rideshare sources for your ship's specific port of call. Transportation is another reason why you might be more interested in booking a Disney port adventure rather than an excursion from a third-party company. Disney does include transportation to and from their port adventure site in the cost of your excursion, one less thing to worry about. And one of the most popular examples of this is the Atlantis Paradise Island excursion in Nassau. Atlantis is a tropical Bahamian resort with a massive water park, a lush 18-hole golf course, the largest casino in the Caribbean, an open-air marine habitat, white sandy beaches, and several classy table service restaurants. Now, if you were to pay for the Atlantis Water Park Day Pass, you're looking at a starting price of $190 plus per adult, depending on when you visit. But with that price, you're not getting any transportation to the resort itself, so you're going to have to pay extra to figure out how to get there on your own. Or you're going to have a 2-mile walk ahead of you from the ship port to the resort, and then you'll have a 2-mile walk back again at the end of your Atlantis stay. Not ideal and a major time eater. Meanwhile, if you book Disney's Atlantis Aqua Venture, the starting price for this is $249, but this excursion does come with shuttle services to and from the resort. This is just one of the many ways that sticking with Disney will make your vacation a little more convenient, but could also cost way more for said convenience. So research, and make sure that what you wind up booking will be worth your money, as well as put your mind at ease. And now let's talk about how Disney might hurt your feelings with upcharges that feel like a scam without being an actual scam, as well as help you figure out how you can be prepared to handle them head on. First of all, the Wi-Fi charges. Staying connected to the real world while you're out at sea may not be a number one priority for you, but if it's still somewhat of a priority, then you might be shocked to find out how much you're going to have to pay for continued social media and internet privileges while you're on the ship. The complimentary Wi-Fi that comes with your Disney cruise price is severely limited. The only thing this Wi-Fi service will allow you to do is let you access your Disney Cruise Line Navigator app. That's basically the cruise equivalent of Disney World's My Disney Experience app or Disneyland's Disneyland app. So it comes in handy when you're keeping up with your cruise line's daily activities, but it's not going to let you call Aunt Jenny back home or check in with your company's Slack page to keep up with the latest water cooler talk. If you don't want to lose access to the outside world while you're sailing across the seas, then you may want to tack on a Wi-Fi package for your trip. There are a few different packages you can choose to purchase from the Disney Cruise Line directly. Note, these prices I'm about to list are for passengers who want to pay for connection for the entire length of their voyage, with price ranges subject to change because there are different lengths of voyages. So the Stay Connected option gives you access to select popular social media sites like Facebook, Instagram, and X for around $16 a day. The Basic Surf option includes all of the Stay Connected offerings plus access to other websites and emails. You can also make phone calls through this package. Basic Surf's going to cost you about $24 a day. And then there's the Premium Surf option, which includes everything from the Basic Surf package plus video on Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, and FaceTiming. Oh, and music streaming too. This package will cost you around $34 per day. And it's actually pretty good. I have had to upload voiceovers while at sea and it works. Now, no matter which service you decide upon, each will become available for you to purchase via the Disney Cruise Line Navigator app once you board the ship. Note that your family can share this package, but only one device can be on it at a time. Usually my family will purchase 2 packages and just make sure we're not all trying to be online at once. Now, when you're in port, I recommend getting an international plan through your cell phone service provider. I use the AT&T international plan that automatically notices if I go out of the country whenever I go out of the country, and it kicks on automatically. It costs me $10 per day without having to completely change my data plan. I get the same data plan that I get in the States. It's just $10 per day when I'm out of the country. So check with your phone provider before your trip and see what they might be able to offer so you can avoid overpaying on connectivity charges when you're in port. And just note that you need to choose something if you plan on using any sort of cellular data during your trip, because if you do attempt to access the online world for whatever reason on the ship, you may find yourself face to face with surprisingly hefty roaming charges by the end of your vacation, meaning you could be charged potentially $10 to $20 plus for each megabyte that you use. So to put it this way, 1 megabyte's about the equivalent of just loading up one web page or downloading like a minute-long song, maybe. More embarrassing experiences from AJ here. I once came home to a $400 bill after a short cruise because I didn't have my roaming button turned off. Come on. So does it feel like a scam? Absolutely. Is it a scam? Not in the technical sense, no. There's plenty of fine print out there if you're willing to read it. The moral here, it's much better to plan ahead for how you're going to use online services rather than rely on roaming charges, which will add up to potentially hundreds by the end of your trip, believe me, I know, depending on how much data you use. Also, if you don't plan on paying for any sort of internet plan while on board, make sure your phone is switched over to airplane mode the whole time so you can prevent any unforeseen roaming charges that could pop up when you accidentally leave an app or web page running in the background of your device. Disney's Cruise Line Wi-Fi that they give you for free to use your Navigator app does work if you are on airplane mode. Now, in the Disney Cruise Line bubble, favoritism is afoot. While many of Disney's cruise activities, like the Broadway-style performances and trivia games and rotational dining and sketch classes, etc., are automatically included with your stateroom price, other more premium activities are going to require you to make advance reservations and pay extra. This includes cruise extras like adult exclusive dining, beverage tasting seminars, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, character picnics and tea parties, port adventures, private cabanas with Castaway Cay, and several spa and fitness services. The It's a Small World Nursery also requires advance reservations, as does the free Princess Gathering meet and greet that happens in the atrium at select times during your cruise. Now remember, Small World Nursery is not the kids clubs. The kids clubs are for older kids, Small World Nursery is for babies, and that's why it costs more. Now, if you want to make reservations for one of these extra activities, first-time cruisers will be able to start booking them 75 days prior to their sail date. But here's the downside of that, for new cruisers at least. Booking extra activities is done on a loyalty basis, meaning people who have sailed more get first dibs on these premium experiences. Here's the earliest you can start booking cruise line extras based on your Castaway Club membership status. You'll automatically become part of this club after your first sailing, meaning you'll be promoted to a silver rank by default when you're ready to book your second cruise. But the bad thing about this loyalty system is that first-time cruisers are going to be the last folks who get to make premium reservations. So even if you do start booking your activities at exactly 75 days out, right when those reservations go live, some of those really limited quantity experiences might already be booked up before you get the chance to snag them for yourself. On the flip side though, some first-time cruisers could be one of the first books to book premium reservations if they choose to purchase a concierge stateroom. That's right, loyalty and money. All concierge level guests, regardless of their cruise status, will have first dibs on activity reservations over everyone else and can start booking these an extra 130 days before their sail date. So that whole loyalty system goes completely out the window if you're willing to pay for the concierge route. This isn't strictly a Disney Cruise Line rule. The same kind of membership status rankings and concierge privileges are available on many other popular cruise lines too. So just be aware of how these systems work and be sure you're ready to book your activities as soon as your booking window opens up at midnight, regardless of how early or how late it may be compared to everyone else. And remember, you won't be able to start making reservations even when your booking window opens up if you haven't fully paid off your cruise. So you'll want to pace out your cruise payments to make sure your trip is completely paid before those activities go live for you to book. Now, this is something I learned about just recently, and I learned it the hard way. So let's say you get excited about the idea of sailing concierge. Let's say you want to bring your mom on a cruise and you want her to be spoiled. Not only will concierge give you that advanced activities booking privilege, but it'll also hook you up with a private lounge area, personal concierge team, and extra services that could make your cruise even more relaxing and memorable and engaging. But then, later on, you decide you really don't need all the extra stuff, because if you don't really plan on hanging around the private concierge lounge all that often, or you don't want to book any extra activities aside from the ones that are already automatically included with your stateroom price, and your concierge room was just a regular room anyway with nicer finishes, then you may not think that paying thousands of dollars extra for some of those premium concierge perks are going to wind up being worth it for you in the end. I'm not speaking from experience or anything, obviously. Alas, if you've already bit the bullet and made a deposit for a concierge stateroom, you cannot downgrade to a regular stateroom after that without completely forfeiting that deposit, which is 20% of the concierge room price. That deposit is due within 24 hours of booking your reservation, so you need to make super sure that this is the route you want to go before you book this room type. If you want to upgrade your stateroom after booking a lower level stateroom, that's totally fine, just as long as those higher level rooms are still available. Disney's not about to punish you for paying more for something. But do keep in mind that you will still have to pay the difference between the two room prices upon switching. Most importantly, make sure you always read the fine print before booking literally anything. I'm talking not just staterooms, but also fancy dinners and excursions and spa services, anything. Because the fine print is where you're going to learn about all those nuanced cancellation policies and fees that may not otherwise be overly promoted in large print on the website. So the biggest piece of advice that we kept returning to over and over and over again in today's video is to do your research before your cruise, so you're never blindsided by scams or scam-like scenarios. We want to make sure y'all stay informed instead of getting tripped up by something that could have been easily avoided either during or before your trip. While a good chunk of that research is going to be up to you and your travel agent, we here at DFB are going to make sure we continue to keep you in the loop over any other scammy scenarios we come across and maybe fall victim to, whether it be on a cruise, inside a theme park, or some other vacation destination entirely. So make sure to keep checking back here with us. We're going to keep on providing you with vacation tips that'll help you sleep easier at night. By the way, if you have heard about some of these scams or maybe actually been taken in by one and are willing to talk about it, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your experiences as well, because people who are watching these videos now or in the future, if it's the future, hi, I hope it's great out there, they need to see what we went through too, and it's helpful. So thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. We've got tons of cruise videos on the channel and more to come. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.